What if everything you were ever told about villains and heroes was completely wrong? What if the bad guy, the one society wrote off before he even had a chance, turned out to be the only one brave enough to save the day? Today, we're breaking down one of the most underrated animated films of the last 2 decades. A movie about identity, destiny, and what it really means to be a hero. And trust me, by the time we reach the ending, you're going to see this story in a completely different light. So sit back, because this one is going to surprise you. Before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below telling me your favorite animated movie of all time. Now, let's get into it. Our story begins in the cosmos. 2 planets are dying, and in a desperate bid to save their sons, 2 sets of alien parents launch their infant children toward a distant blue world, Earth. One baby lands softly in the arms of a wealthy, loving family. He grows up admired, gifted, and celebrated. The other baby? He crashes straight into a prison. Raised by inmates, surrounded by bars, his only companions are the criminals who taught him everything they knew. From day one, these 2 children were placed on opposite sides of a line neither of them drew. One was handed a golden future, the other was handed a set of chains. And yet, both of them end up in the same city, locked in a rivalry that defines their entire existence. One becomes the beloved protector of Metro City. The other becomes its most theatrical and flamboyant villain. But here's the thing, neither of them truly chose those roles. They were assigned them. And that question, can you escape the role the world gives you, is exactly what this film is really about. For years, the villain loses. The superhero catches him, the city cheers, and our blue-skinned, big-headed anti-hero is carted back to prison with nothing but his dignity slightly bruised. But then, everything changes. On the day the city throws a grand celebration for their hero, the villain springs what should be his most doomed plan yet. He kidnaps a reporter, lures the hero into an elaborate trap, and fires his death ray. And shockingly, it works. The hero, apparently undone by an unexpected weakness, is gone. The city is devastated. The villain has won. He should be elated, right? He should be dancing through the streets. Instead, something deeply unexpected happens. He feels completely, utterly empty. Because here's the painful truth he never admitted even to himself. He didn't just need to beat the hero. He needed the hero. Without that rivalry, without that push and pull, his whole identity collapses.
I mean, we did it, right? Then why do I feel so unhappy?
Winning, it turns out, wasn't what he was actually chasing. But then, an idea strikes. What if he created a new hero to fight?
Create a hero?
I have no purpose, so I have someone to fight.
Minion, I'm a villain without a hero.
A yin with no yang.
Using DNA collected from the fallen protector, he develops a serum capable of granting superpowers to any human who receives it. Now he just needs the right candidate. But fate, as it always does, has other plans. In the chaos of the moment, the serum accidentally hits entirely the wrong person. A self-absorbed, underachieving cameraman with a massive crush on the very reporter our villain has been spending time with. And speaking of that reporter, something unexpected is growing there too. While posing as a mild-mannered museum curator, our villain finds himself genuinely connecting with her. She's sharp, funny, and she challenges him in ways no one ever has. For the first time in his life, he's not performing. He's just being. The romance that blossoms is awkward and strange and completely sincere, which makes what comes next all the more heartbreaking. Meanwhile, the cameraman who received the serum, now calling himself a superhero with a name he can't even spell correctly, starts to embrace his new powers. But not in the way anyone hoped. He is, in short, a disaster. Our villain had hoped to shape him into a worthy opponent, but what he got instead was a ticking time bomb with the emotional maturity of a toddler and the physical power of a god. When our villain attempts to confront him and rein things in, it blows up spectacularly.
I'm the villain. You're the good guy. I do something bad, and you come and get me. That's why I created you.
Ah! You tricked me?
The new so-called hero learns he's been manipulated, that his mentor figure was the villain all along. And rather than being humbled by this revelation, he becomes furious and dangerous. The power he was given was never earned, and that makes it infinitely more terrifying. The city now faces something far worse than its old villain, someone with unlimited power and absolutely no moral compass to guide it. With the city descending into chaos, our villain does something he never expected to do. He goes looking for help.
Look, if we don't find Titan's weakness, he'll destroy the whole city.
He and the reporter track down what they believe to be a secret headquarters, hoping to find a weapon or a plan. What they find instead stops them both cold. The original hero is alive.
You're alive?
He faked his death. Hidden away and completely at peace, he explains that he had grown exhausted by the weight of expectation, but he was just a person, and he wanted to choose his own path. It's a stunning and quietly devastating scene. Because here you have two supposed opposites, the celebrated hero and the perpetual villain, and both of them have been trapped by the identities the world built for them. One escaped by disappearing, the other never had the option to escape at all. And now, with the real hero refusing to return, there is only one person left who might be able to save Metro City. For a brief, shining moment, it seems like our protagonist might rise to the occasion. The reporter believes in him. She tells him plainly, "You could be the hero this city needs." He convinces himself that villainy is simply what he is. Destiny is destiny. And so he makes the worst decision of the film. He turns himself into prison and lets the city burn. It's a moment of profound cowardice, and the film is honest enough not to dress it up. Sometimes people choose the cage they know over the freedom that scares them. Sometimes the hardest thing in the world isn't fighting a superpowered maniac. It's believing you're worth more than the worst thing anyone ever called you. But then something shifts. The new villain captures the reporter, the one person who saw something good in our protagonist and said so out loud. And that changes everything. His loyal sidekick, who had walked away in frustration, comes back. Because that's what real friendship looks like. Not just the celebrations, but showing up in the moments that count. Together, they cook up a plan that's equal parts brilliant and absurd. The sidekick disguises himself as the villain, drawing the enemy's attention, while the protagonist disguises himself as the original hero, hoping to bluff his way to victory. It's a plan built almost entirely on deception and spectacle, which is fitting, because that's been his whole life. For one extraordinary sequence, he becomes the hero. Not because the city asked him to, not because destiny demanded it, but because someone he cared about needed him to. And for the first time, that is enough. The bluff nearly works, but ultimately fails.
Pretty sneaky, sis. But there's only one person I know who calls this town Metrocity.
Oops.
You.
The villain sees through the disguise, and the chase is on. Everything looks lost. And then, a stroke of luck. The missing device that can strip superpowers is found, exactly where it was accidentally left. Our protagonist recovers it and strips him of his stolen gifts. The threat is neutralized, the city is saved, and the crowd that once cheered for a different hero entirely now looks up at the blue-skinned, big-headed, flamboyant genius who just risked everything for a city that spent its whole life rooting against him. The final image is beautiful in its simplicity. The museum that once celebrated the old hero is renamed. The city doesn't just tolerate its new protector, it embraces him. Somewhere in the crowd, the original hero watches, disguised, and smiles. He knows he made the right choice. So does everyone else. Here's what makes this film genuinely special, and why it deserves far more credit than it often gets. It doesn't just flip the hero-villain dynamic for laughs, though it absolutely earns those laughs. It asks a real question. What happens to the people society decides are failures before they've even begun? What do you become when you're handed a story you didn't write? The answer this film gives is quietly radical. You get to rewrite it. Not because the world suddenly changes its mind about you, not because someone rescues you, but because one day you decide that the role you were given at birth is not the sum total of who you are. If you enjoyed this breakdown, please like the video and share it with someone who loves animated films. Subscribe if you haven't already. We do deep dives like this every week. Drop in the comments. Did you root for the villain from the start, or did it take you a while to come around? I'll see you in the next one.